mayors, that would be their view is like Monza, think, but still.
I've got his card, eh?
Anyway.
It's blooming.
Can you move those back a little bit?
Or just move back.
Or on the YouTube channel.
So,
That's something you should bring up.
I can have a master plan.
Just did, and it's like,
I don't
That I didn't vote. Dumped off last time. I was like, his diaper. Like he said, front branch. He said front branch. No, we're terrible. Me mentioning you on this. So you know.
It's been hot over a year. That's why we're sticking around for Saturday.
Yeah, I'll call this meeting to order, Wednesday, August 4th, the time is 7:01 p.m. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And we'll open it up for visitor comments. When you come up, please state your name for the record and keep it to 5 minutes or less, please.
I wrote it down in hopes of being able to. My name's Colleen Oller. And I had to write it down because I was so mad after the last meeting and embarrassed to be part of this community with the way some people in here acted. It was horrific. I've been a resident of St. Helens for 17 years. During that time, my husband and I have been part of the STP. That's the same 10 people who volunteer for events all around our town. We've helped with the 4th of July, the food bank garden on 15th Street, which was a rat hole with garbage fencing around it until we got a hold of it. And now you can see what it looks like. And it feeds a lot of people in this town. And most importantly to my family, Halloween Town. I listened at the last meeting and found that we are all involved in more than anyone else knows. Just as Steve and Rick had no idea when it came to the Maritime Festival, Jessica and Patrick have no idea what Tina does for the multiple events throughout the year. The 4th of July was mentioned by Steve multiple times, and I can tell you why no one wants to take it on. It took a team of no less than 10 of us 6 months to raise the funds for one day, and we would have never been able to finish it if it hadn't been for this man right here pulling funds from Leftover Foundation in order to help us. We sold popcorn, we sold fireworks, we sold cotton candy. We met monthly for the first few months and bi-monthly after that until the 4th was done. We had a huge list of things that had to be done up to and on the day of the event. When I heard Tina gets $10,000 a month, all I could think was, she needs a raise. She did in 2 months what it took 10 to 12 of us 6 months to do. So before you knock down her company, as Jessica called it, get involved. Put your money where your mouth is. And it's more important. And more importantly, your time. Jessica kept saying in regards to Tina Curry that she wasn't attacking her, but her company. If she was involved in anything Tina did, she would know that her company is her. But Jessica, like everyone in the world and everyone here, has their own agenda. Obviously, it doesn't involve working with Tina or her company. As Rick said, man up. Do you know what I did directly after the meeting? I messaged Tina and asked her if she needed my help making an inventory, which was one of the 3 things that you asked about. And do you know what she told me? She already had one. It wouldn't be difficult for me to do it because my husband has made a good portion of the props that are out there for Halloween Town right now. And do you know that Tina, okay, If you'd spoken to her about your list of grievances, you would have found that some of the things there were already going on and already addressed. You stated she didn't have a contract, and she does. You should know that. The budget one was just earlier in the day at the meeting you were at. Read your packets. Seriously. And I'm not asking you to do anything I wouldn't do myself. Can you say the same thing? One of the counselors said, I was told it was you, that some of you have decided if you don't like Tina, you'll never like Tina. I can tell you that's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. Have you never changed your mind? Have you never learned you were wrong or needed to adjust how you think? Tina and I used to be at odds in a big way. Patrick knows this. I couldn't stand her. I used to say things like, I'm gonna kill her with kindness. Does anybody have a truck called Kindness? But once we got together and found out that we were both wanted the same thing, to add value to our town, we became a great team. And honestly, there isn't anything I wouldn't do for her now if she needed me. Steve stated at the last meeting that he hasn't had many people parking outside of his business residence in the last year. 2 reasons. First, the neighbors complained about parking, and so Tina did something about it. And second, COVID. You couldn't have people parking there because we could only have 200 people for the event. So no, you did not have people parking out there because there weren't people to park out there. And we really don't need to park in front of your house. We can park on the waterfront, just as my husband and I did Thursday, with about 150 other cars that were down there for 13 nights. Last year wasn't a reflection of dwindling, it was a worldwide pandemic. Oh, my time's almost up. For the good of this town, it's best to have one entity run all the events. If you've been involved in any of the events previous to her running them, you would know how people war over power and the dumbest things. Instead of making things better, they fight. I'm not sure why or what they think will happen. We had trouble with 13 nights when we were working on it. I'll leave the rest next time.
Please state your name for the record and 5 minutes, please.
I will. I've got copies for everybody before I start. Please pass these along. Thank you. Stephanie Patterson, Community Liaison for Halloween Town. I'm going to skip the intro because you all know who I am, and I'm going to skip the part about the parking except to reiterate what Colleen said. The reason that Councilor Topaz did not see cars is that we opened up the parking lot on the Boise property to help the congestion flow for 13 nights, so you're not going to be seeing anything even when it's all in full swing. Okay. One of the other comments is Councilor Topaz said we have a lot of angst because the tourism has closed off streets and done other things, and typically if anyone wants to close off streets, it has to be okayed by the council. And what he's saying is that there was also, I've seen a lot of mechanisms circumventing the council. I'm here to say that this is false. I've walked the consent form around the businesses affected by Yvette Street closure since 2017. Last year's closure was handled via email, phone calls due to COVID. In all cases, the street closure form has been turned into the city by me. Councilor Topaz described his involvement with Shedco, saying the other thing I've been a part of Shedco, and it was the company of tourism did not play well with other people. They wanted to run everything, and they did without much help. My response to that is, I was asked to assist the communications between City Tourism and Tina in 2017 through 2019. One of the biggest conflicts the city faced with Shedco at the time was copyright and trademark infringement. Branding was not something that St. Helens community and its organizations took seriously in 2017. Tina had to educate the council that name recognition, logos, websites, etc. actually have monetary value. Because of her insistence, the brand of Spirit of Halloween Town is known across the country and is now part of the city's assets. Councilor Berkeley had the following concerns. That we do business in the Holton district, we have businesses on Highway 30, and we have businesses elsewhere that perhaps they too are benefiting. Where are the facts and figures? I think this is something we've all kind of stumbled over. I've been asked this question myself many times. Response is, we take the merchants community at their word and rely on anecdotal evidence because we have no right to ask for dollar figures from private enterprise, and that's a good thing. We have to rely on conversations and our observations. In retail businesses, the first priorities are rent, power, stock, and advertising. The signs we watch for are increased hours for employees, more employees, a wider variety of offerings, the introduction of upper-end items for consumption, and a more attractive street presence and decor. This is how we have to quantify it in private enterprise. Again, I would like to repeat what Colleen also said is there is a contract for Tina. It's automatically renewed every year and is subject to revisions and terminations by both parties. Councillor Chilton also addressed concerns regarding tourism. This is a revamp of our tourism program, and if you don't see the problems, you aren't looking hard enough, because I have a list of them after talking with city staff, after talking with police, after talking with citizens. My response to this is, I take issue with the remark, if you don't see the problems, you haven't been looking hard enough. During the past 2 council meetings, citizens and businesses have appeared before council and stated their concerns about what significant changes to the focus of tourism, tourism events, and their coordinator would mean to their financial bottom line and the gentrification of an entire district. Real property values. They didn't come to be argumentative. They have a legitimate concern about the impact of changing a system that has worked very well for them during the past 6 years. It's not right to dismiss those very real concerns by telling them they haven't been looking at the matter in the correct way simply because they disagree with you in their thought process. Councillor Chilton went on to read the problems, and I won't go through those because we know where they are, the contract, etc. But there was one false statement, as Colleen has already mentioned, about the prop inventory. Yes, there is a prop inventory. Tina created it, and when I last spoke to her, no one had asked her if she has one. She also showed me the inventory. The rest of the items spoke about are not under Tina's control. I'm going to skip ahead there and say, the last few years we haven't gotten citizens of St. Helens involved. False statement. 13 Nights has great attendance. There's a lot of community involvement in Halloween Town. Kiwanis, Lions, Daybreakers, Boy Scouts of America, dance teams, CERT. They either vend, raise money for their troops and clubs by manning attractions and running parking or doing cleanup. We also have autonomous events, High Club. I wish I had more time. There's a lot more to say. But thank you for listening, and please take the time to read my report.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Howard Blumenthal. I just wanted to talk a little bit about the plans you have for the riverfront. Being one of the people whose name was on the vision from the beginning, I'm always interested to see the way that it's evolving. I think parking is going to be one of the major issues in that area. I like the idea of a parking structure, but that brings up a whole lot when you start talking about bringing the traffic on top of the hill. Right now, for Halloween Town, 5 weekends of the year, our neighborhood gets all the traffic from this end of town, goes up over to the residential neighborhood. Right now, on 4th Street, you have this much room for somebody to walk on either side of that hill if you want to have a pedestrian. The Laurel's growing across. If you were to have school buses coming up and stuff, school buses, a lot of vehicles cannot stay on their side of the double yellow line. The amount of overgrowth that is happening on that hill going up 4th Street into the Nob Hill neighborhood. That all needs to be trimmed back. There's no way to ever get a sidewalk in there without major stuff. So if you talk about wanting to put a lot more traffic into the neighborhood, where's the safety? The other major one that's coming up is that we did get the 25-mile-an-hour speed limit as you come down Old Portland to 4th Street there. And there's a house that was flipped recently. When they flipped the house, they started putting in fencing. I think Jacob made them keep some of it back. And yet even with people now, they planted laurel where you could see through the fence. That stop sign is becoming bad enough. I only have a 12-foot, two basically 12-foot trailers on my pickup truck. If somebody's speeding over 25 miles an hour, there's pretty much no way for me to get off that stop sign without them having to alter their course. So that's very quickly, especially now with the laurel that's been planted there. You have a low car, you've lost a whole bunch of time being able to see to your left when people are speeding down there. I'd like to start seeing the city maybe enforcing the 25-mile-an-hour speed limit. I've seen that they have a reader board over by McCormick Park. I would love to see that reader board tell people how fast they're coming when they're coming around that corner. Because I'm just about ready to have to start not coming out 4th Street if I'm hauling my camper or a utility trailer, because there's no way to get out of there safely. You know, so anytime you talk about putting more traffic through that area where you've got a stop sign and you can't see the left, and then if you've got the other business on the right, they're parked right to the corner, you know, you're supposed to look left, you're supposed to look right. You look left, you start to go, somebody's on top of you already. Even if you're staring, you know, and not everybody owns a fancy car with 400 cubic inches to take off the stop line. So, you know, if there's a way to try to make that intersection a little bit safer and to get the stuff trimmed, there's trees on Tualatin Street that my Toyota pickup truck I'm hitting my antennas on now, and I'm having to start to drive down the middle of the street because it's starting to become overgrown up there. So I'd appreciate if you'd look at some of that stuff. Thank you.
Thank you, Howard. You state your name for the record and please keep your thoughts to 5 minutes.
So Jamie Smith, I sent an email and I've called into multiple, especially when it comes to the events that happen downtown. I wanted to read the email here. Unfortunately, I was unable to attend the 721 meeting, but had to watch it and was quite embarrassed, especially as we look to build up the waterfront. There's nobody that's willing to come into this town and invest if we continue to behave like we do. It's unclear to me why we continue to spend our taxpayers' dollars on discussing E2C, Halloween Town, and Tina, and tourism. She has more than proved herself as an asset to the city and the community. Frankly, it does appear to be a personal vendetta from Councilor Topaz, Chilton, and Berkeley. I have volunteered the last 3 years at Halloween Town, supported 13 nights weekly. It is not a dying event. Participating in as many events as possible in each event each year has gotten bigger and better. While volunteering at Halloween Town, I've spoken to people from all over the country. Friends, family in Southern California consistently ask me and come up to visit to go participate. Last year was unprecedented. The world was dealing with something never before dealt with, and we, as a community, pulled off Halloween Town. I volunteered every weekend to help at the gates while my daughter worked at one of the booths for her 4-H fund. I was absolutely disgusted by the behavior of some of our community members and as well as some of you with a seat at the table. I was threatened at one point that someone was going to drive their car through the area. A lot of this was fueled by social media. Councilor Chilton, you spent more time on social media feeding the fire of anger rather than come down and assist, even when asked if you could. We received feedback from people shared with Tina, and if possible, she made changes to meet the needs of our community as well as those visiting. Councilor Topaz, you would come walking through almost daily down there, masked on, very unfriendly, very angry, not kind at all, not welcoming to anybody else here. Councilor Berkeley, you yelled at me due to the fact the alley didn't go all the way through. After I stated to you that you should reach out to the city, you told me it was Tina's business, not the city's problem. I was shocked to find out many of you later were running for a seat on council. None of this behavior is very becoming, let alone for those with public eyes on you. Each of you were in the process of campaigning. You should have been part of the solution versus part of the problem. We are part of the community. We are volunteers. We give of our time to help our community continue to thrive. Each Saturday and Sunday, I wore a shirt from local businesses. I directed visitors to those businesses. I directed visitors to restaurants. Us volunteers help drive business not only to the core of St. Helens, but within the entire community. I ask each of you, if you put this RFP out, what do you plan on doing to ensure the new RFP chosen is chosen fairly and unbiased? Who is it you have in mind to come in and do so much more than what Tina has done? My gut tells me you have an agenda. What do you plan on doing if you choose another RFP and they fail? Tina has built up a volunteer base that supports her 100%. Finding volunteers in our community doesn't come easy. Do each of you plan on working every event, every weekend the event is happening? It's time to put this topic to rest. It's very obvious from the community members they too are tired of the nonsense. If as a council member you can't see this and can't see the success, please do us a favor, step down. Allow someone with the passion to grow our community to come in. Because where I sit, 3 of the 5 of you would rather push your personal agendas than do what's right in our town.
Please state your name and keep it to 5 minutes, please.
Shauna Strop Harrison. Nice to see you all. It's been a while. I am here in regards to the influx of crime that is affecting our community right now. I have a huge concern in regards to the amount of theft that's happening in cars, particularly in my neighborhood. There was a very publicized event in regards to an assault that happened to a woman literally doors down from where I get in and out of my car multiple times a day. I find it very discouraging that these problems don't seem to be making it down here to your guys' meetings. I've been watching your meetings, and I am also very disenchanted with the lack of working together that seems to be able to possibly happen on things of this nature for the betterment of everybody. I don't know exactly where it went wrong. Obviously, we have some precarious situations facing us as a community and as a world, and it's really disheartening to see the amount of discontent from so many of you in some way, shape, or form. There really are no words for the amount of disappointment. I mean, everything that I've came down here and have spoken in regards to my concerns, being a lifelong resident, in regards to how we're growing and going to other communities that are also small town communities, as far as into Montana and into California, and seeing how they're running their places, this is disheartening at best. We have such a great opportunity here, and we are throwing it in the trash. Our number one income producing for any kind of jobs is mental health. I feel like we're becoming a dumping ground for sick people, and I feel that it's a major, major problem that is going to be hitting you all flat in the face sooner than later. You can only turn your eyes for so long. Obviously, I don't have children, but I worry about the kids immensely in our communities. There's just a host of issues, and there's not enough time here to even start to talk about them. I get concerned about the property development that's going on. I know that you have 3 lots available right now that I'm concerned about flooding that has happened there time and time again. My friends live right across the street, and in that area, I know there's been a lot of storm work systems that have been going on, but I find it very, very haphazard to be so eager to hurry up and try to sell a couple, for a couple tens of thousands of dollars, a couple of lots that is going to end up becoming a precarious situation for the people on the other side of the street that essentially are downhill from an area that pumped out water immensely. I had to go sandbag across the street from North 10th during the Vernonia floods while I got into my friend's parents' house. They vocal these concerns to me, and people in the community do, because just because it's not in the flood zone doesn't mean we don't have water issues around here. The development, of the riverfront, it's going to happen. It's so cool to go to places like Stevenson, Washington, and see what they've done on their riverfront. It's been absolutely amazing, and to talk to people, because I have no problem talking to anybody at any given time, and what I hope to be a respectful manner. I realize that people get passionate about situations. I have no comment in regards to Halloween Town. As far as I'm concerned, we have way bigger issues facing us as a community than that event. That has been something that has been your guys' focal point and your guys' baby per se, and that's what that is. I think it's got a lot of great positive things, but of course, as with anything, it's not perfect. So I just, as a citizen, as a person who does care about this community, as somebody who does volunteer work and does try to do whatever she can to be a positive person, would really, and I cannot forget, I'm so grateful for the St. Helens Police. They came down right away when I called them last night. They started staking out the area. They had no problem at all. I sat there in my house. They were going to approach me if I wanted, but it was 2 a.m. I really wasn't up for the conversation. And but it definitely gave me a sense of, security, knowing that they're at least trying. But I think there should be way better patrols in my area as a whole. I think that they should be circling that area due to there was just, assault, essentially. So I really pray and hope that you guys can find some kind of common ground, and it doesn't have to be such a character assassination. I don't know you. I apologize. I wish you the best. I do know every single body else here at council, and I've been down here often before. I wish you the best of luck, because this isn't an easy task by any stretch of the imagination. Thank you so much, and yeah.
Okay, please state your name for the record and keep it to 5 minutes or less.
It'll be less. Debbie Carpenter. The project, the Riverfront project, awesome. There's, and our events that we have going on. But I think we really need to focus in on what's happening, i.e. what's coming our way via the river. The little city that's about to form, and we've seen them. They send out their little scout boats. They've been camping on the city property, defecating on the riverbanks, probably going in Shauna's neighborhood and everybody's neighborhood, stealing the catalytic converters, so they can get their gas money or they can do anything. So it would be really nice if we could focus in on the law enforcement about getting these people removed. Make them as uncomfortable as possible because they're putting their roots in. Every day when I'm walking through the town, there's more and more. They get to camp out at the city docks. I don't get to camp out at the city docks. They have boats that are unregistered. I have to register my boat. So that's, I think if you start at focus on that, because it's not gonna do any good to make this beautiful waterfront, because they're just gonna come camp and they're just gonna trash it up, and then nobody will get to enjoy it. Nobody will wanna come to our town to enjoy it. So that's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Debbie. I want to thank Debbie because she came and notified me that there was boats and cars down on our waterfront property, and I actually, Colton was one of the officers, responding officers, to go down there. And I think you bring up a good point. If you see something suspicious in your neighborhood, I guess neighborhood watch, If I'm your neighbor and the cops come approaching me because you were suspicious of me, I'll be okay with that. I will be okay with that if you're truly your neighbor. Okay, just saying that. Go ahead, say your name for the record, and please keep it to 5
Good
minutes.
evening. My name's Richard Mason. I'm the dock master at Yachts Landing Marina, which is just next door to the city docks. The St. Helens Marina, I believe, has a lease with the city, and they are a contractor with the city. And part of their contract with the city, or lease with the city, is that they are supposed to be responsible for both the docks at the island, and they're supposed to monitor the city docks. If there's any problems, they are to notify the city. Well, Tony's been doing that for over a year. Tony has a detailed log that she keeps. She routinely calls the non-emergency number and advises them that boat XYZ with tags XYZ has been at the dock now for 14 days or so-and-so. And I just don't understand why that documentation is not enough to enforce the laws that the city has on the book right now. It gives dates, it gives times, it gives names. That's my question. Did the city council even know that this log exists?
So yes, and yes, we are doing something about it. I'm just going to answer for the entire council because we had a presentation just last week, and I'm going to keep this short. And it may not be the answer you think you deserve, but we are looking into it. Our city, our law enforcement has went down and researched, what was it? Waldport. And so let me finish, because I told you I'm probably not going to give you the answer you want to hear. That there are certain laws when it comes to voting. We can put a kiosk up, and as long as they have to register. If they don't register, then it still takes 9 days in order to tow that boat, 10 days. So that is what we have found out. That's God's truth, and it's state law. We looked into it, and we talked to other ports about this position. If you have a port that you think does it differently and has a way of doing it that is not a private, is not a public entity, private's no problem. Even private, but please feel free to pass that information along. I am familiar with Tony's book.
So the city ordinances are no good?
The city ordinance on the docks are good. They are good, but you cannot just tow a boat like that.
You don't have to tow them.
Like I said,
Ticket them.
okay, Richard, I told you we are working on it, and I know this is frustrating for us as well. Trust me, you are very good about notifying us, Tony is too as well. We're trying everything we can humanly possibly do right now. And our answer to the solution is a kiosk right now. And it started enforcing, because if they don't register right away, and show their proof of insurance and their boat numbers, we can put a sticker on it, but even then, it's 10 days until we can tow. That's the long and short of it. That's all we have. If you find something in ORS other than that we can utilize, please notify us and we will research it. I apologize. I know. We cannot be held liable as a city. There's marine laws.
Why can't you ticket someone for violating the
We
ordinance?
can ticket them. If we can't tow them, can't pull them away.
Don't tow them, ticket them. Hit them in the wallet.
And we can when they're around, and they're not, more than likely, the people you're specifically talking about are not gonna pay it.
I can tell you right now, there's 2 boats down there that are using our moorage as free moorage.
Well-
And I watch them come and go every weekend. They come down, they use their boat for the weekend, they tie it up and they leave, and I see them the next weekend.
And so I just gotta say that also, there's a liability issue there as well, being on the water and our code enforcement and everything else. There's multiple layers to this. We're not trying to evade you. So I spoke too long. This is something we're not gonna do, is dialect like this back and forth, but I just felt like I could give you the answer that you probably didn't want to hear. So, that's it. Any other, you got? Please state your name for the record and keep it to 5 minutes, please.
Tony Doggett. So I have a couple of issues. Of course, the logbook, which has been dismissed pretty much. You do have a 72-hour ordinance, and you need to enforce it. You've got a shit show down there, and it's going to get worse, but I digress. I'm done. Here's my logbook with all of the repeat offenders for a year. They were saying last year, you trespassed Jacob off the dock. He was trespassed off, so when he went and anchored, better than him glommed onto the dock. It's still not an ideal situation. He's back now, and he's got his middle finger up to the city of St. Helens. But let's forget about him. Let's move on to Sand Island. So I'm speaking for Brad Hendrickson as well. He told me to put his full support behind this. You guys have no credibility with us anymore. You told us that the police would, and this is not the St. Helens Police Department. This is on you guys. You sat here and you told us that you would police the island, that if we needed help over there, the police would come over. Now you're telling us they don't have a boat, they might fall in the river, they can't go over there, they can't arrest people. So what are we supposed to do? Let that place turn into the Lord of the Flies? Sylvia Island. What happened over there? Do you think it's not going to happen there? That's not going to be family friendly within about 3 or 4 weeks. It's going to be just a brawling drunk fest. We've already had brawls over there. Do you think it's fair that an unpaid camp host should wade into the middle of a brawl in the middle of the night, round up people and take them over to the dock so they can be arrested? No. Who's liable for this? There were 9 911 calls, I understand, that night from campers over there terrified. Somebody is going to get really badly hurt, and waiting for you guys to do something or figure out what you're going to do is not going to work for the rest of this season. Somebody is going to get hurt, and you're going to be really lucky if they're not. But Brad also, he can't believe it, honestly. And like I said, this is not on the St. Helens Police Department. They're there for us whenever we call them. This is about you guys promising something to us that you couldn't deliver. And if you're doing expansions in this city, and that includes 80 campsites in Sand Island, thousands of houses on the other side of the road, you better expand your police department. Because it's ridiculous what's going on. Thank you.
Please state your name and keep it to 5 minutes.
Okay, it's Don Patterson, and I'm here tonight on behalf of Kiwanis, the St. Helens Kiwanis Club. We provided you with a letter. I don't know whether you'd gotten it or not, but what I would like to do is take just a minute and read it into the into the record. And it's addressed to you, Mayor, and to the councilors. And it goes like this. It says, "We are writing on behalf of the St. Helens Kiwanis Club to express our appreciation for the city's support of our activities. Over the past 5 years, the city and its contractor, E2C, have employed our club's members in various roles, allowing us to continue to support worthy causes within our city." And there's a list that I'm not going to read through here, but you have the city and E2C are instrumental in our continued fundraising. We appreciate the opportunity Ms. Curry has provided during Halloween Town, and we look forward to a continuing relationship. And it's signed by the President, President-elect, Secretary, and Treasurer of the Kiwanis Club. That's all I had.
Thank you, John. Please state your name for the record and keep your talk to 5 minutes.
Carmen Dunn, just wanted to say the presentation earlier from Myra Reed was great. Super exciting to see that coming together. I'm really excited to see what happens with phase 1. So excited to have community involvement in the planning sessions for phase 1. I think that'll be really important. And I really appreciated the connectivity up to Nob Hill Nature Park and the thoughtfulness there, as well as to the stairway. I do think, as others have mentioned, parking is going to be really important to come up with a plan for that. I realize that's not part of the Myra Reed, that's not in their scope of work, but I think the city really needs to start planning for that early. And then I do just want to kind of, hearing all of the talk about the issues on the water and at Sand Island, I feel like I've been hearing that come up at city council meetings and public comment for years. I remember coming a couple years ago about a development, and they were talking about the issue with the boaters coming, and it still isn't resolved. And I think if we really want their waterfront to be a point for our city and to really draw people down there, it needs to get figured out. I realize that there's issues to making that happen, but I think that the city needs to make that a priority and start working through that. Otherwise, it's going to come up and backfire. It's been going on for a very long time. I don't know the details of it, but coming in tonight and hearing it again, I feel like every time I've come into a city council meeting, it's brought up. And so I think there needs to be some solutioning. If it's an organ issue that's happening that's restricting us from, I guess, following through, towing boats, whatever the logistics are, then maybe we need to start working with the state more closely, working with other cities to try to make changes so that we can follow through. It sounds like we're not the only city in the same boat, so if you can collaborate with other cities to come up with a solution and propose that to the state of Oregon, I think that's important to follow through on. That's it, but thank you.
Thank you, Carmen.
Yep.
Please state your name for the record and keep your talks to 5 minutes or less.
Emma Patterson, and I'm a vendor with Halloween Town. And so I know that both Colleen and Stephanie had talked about how are we tracking revenue? How is this helping our community? How is this helping businesses? Like, we can't get their financials. Well, as a vendor, I am happy to report that year over year, I've seen at least a 25% growth in revenue as a vendor. None of you have ever asked me, hey, how's it going down there? I haven't seen any of you in the last several years that I've worked down there as a vendor. If you had, I would tell you that it's great, even in the middle of a global pandemic. A lot of my concern is around what Councilor Chilton said before the RFP vote, where she concluded, with that, we need to look at the contract, revamp the contract, wipe a clean slate, and seek a new RFP, and the best candidate will win. And I believe that that is the way to clean it up, fix it, put it back out there as a working, cleaned up product. Frankly, if it's not broken, why are you trying to fix it? As we've heard from multiple community members today, there are many things in this community that are broken, and you are trying to address something that seems to be working. Councilor Chilton stated that Halloween Town wouldn't be around in a couple of years. And I'm a little concerned what wiping a clean slate means to someone with this mindset who has not met with the event coordinator to address her concerns, or as far as I'm concerned, any of the vendors that are part of this organization. The local newspaper headlined an article about Patrick Burkle and Jessica Chilton that said that you're new kids on the block. You are new kids on the block. This is your first Halloween Town, and I think it's incredibly unprofessional and not representative of the city and the community members for you to go and try to make changes when you haven't sat back and observed it yet. That's all.
Okay, yep. Please state your name for the record and keep your talks to 5 minutes or less.
Brady Preheim. First, I just want to say I'm glad you didn't read your mantra because it's sort of an embarrassment. Every one of you violated it. You just better be off saying, you're here for a shit show, bring popcorn and sell tickets. First, in response to Steve, who claimed that he was exonerated by the ethics department by dismissing his, it means absolutely nothing. The Ethics Commission only investigates issues of executive session violation, of which you actually still have that, one of those open, and that I filed against you, and if you actually got money. Just accusing someone of trying to get money isn't even a violation, you actually have to got it. You could literally shoot someone in city council and it would not be an ethics violation. So your exoneration actually means nothing. Also, in response to your saying that, oh, you know that Halloween Town and 13 nights have less visitors because cars are not parked near your house. Again, the events now include parking. You should know that. And so, of course, they're not going to park because there was complaints about people parking in the neighborhoods, and the contractor for the city resolved that problem by including parking and having the parking lot so that that doesn't happen. So again, any issue that you bring to her, she fixes, which she did. And came up with a solution for it. You also commented that Tina Curry did not play well with Shedco. I'm sure that you are aware that Amanda Normine, a convicted felon and vice chair of Shedco at the time, tried to extort $20,000 from the city, and of course, and as well as violate your trademarks, your hired talent, and your copyright infringement. And I am afraid, but I really don't expect that anyone, including your contractor, is going to play well with someone who's trying to blackmail you. That doesn't really work well for me. I also noted that you claim that you're running a business out of your home. I'd like to know if you have a business license. And if you don't, how come? Yeah, sat there blankly. I did a public records request for the lists of tourism documents that Councilor Chilton, as well as Councilor Berkeley, had made about, and Topaz, about tourism. Surprisingly, there were very few documents. At first, Councilor Chilton had this list that she claimed that she didn't remember having, which makes me wonder if you're in relapse, since that had only been like 4 days since I'd asked you for it.
Did you say relapse?
Mm-hmm.
Are you referring to drug addiction?
I am.
Wow.
So it makes me wonder if that was because you had apparently forgotten that you had the list. Then after reminding her of the fact that destroying a public document has a fine of 1 year in jail and a $6,000 fine, she suddenly remembered she had it. And lo and behold, I did get the document from her that was supposedly this big long list. And the document is, for those people here, really short. Had 2 items. Contract for tourism needs to be revamped. Wrong events are listed, more structure added, financial system, prop inventory, structure added to something sales, to track sales, I guess it was supposed to be, running of the store and public relations, and the second item was serving a revamp of our tourism, starting with a new RFP. That was her big list. And all those issues were addressed in there, so apparently you don't actually have really big lists that you claim to have had. So that whole RFP request was basically based on a list that didn't actually even exist and that you forgot that you had. Then, you also said that you had information on your list about police. I'd like to know which one of those concerns came from the police, that you had information on there that came from citizens, information that came from staff. I don't see anything on there that came from the police, citizens, or staff. The other concern that I had in getting that public records request from the city was actually an email that was addressed from Matt Brown to Councilor Hilton and Patrick Burkle that basically said that now the city wants to have a management committee of John, Rachel Berry, Kathy Payne, and Mohammed Zaire, I think is how he says his name, to address current issues with tourism. To me, that sounds like management. That sounds like supervision. That means that now that person, your ETC contractor, is now an employee. So I'm interested what BOLI will do with that email, because if they're an employee, you're gonna owe her overtime, back pay, and FERS. That could cost you millions of dollars. So you might be aware of supervision means employees. So that could be a big problem for you. And finally, I know I'm out of time.
Yeah, time.
So I just wanted to say that I didn't appreciate the pee and poop comments. No one here is in kindergarten. So, yeah.
Hi there, please state your name for the record and keep your talks to 5 minutes.
I got a handout. Can I hand out some handouts? I got a picture deal for the each council.
Yeah, I can do whatever I want.
Excuse me, I'm trying to listen to the rest of the meeting.
Gentlemen, we're having a business meeting here.
My name is Jim Coleman, and I'm a lifelong resident, 7-year resident of St. Helens. And my first time at a city council meeting, very interesting. And in the past month, I kind of focused in on city council meetings, so I've spent some time on YouTube, and I'm amazed at what goes on down here. I talked to Mr. Morton about what I have witnessed, and he brought it up at the last meeting I saw on YouTube, and at that same meeting, there was this huge flare-up between Mayor Scholl and one of the council members, and screaming and hollering, and what is going on? So, but I came here today to talk about derelict vessels and Sand Island. So the pictures I have here are from, I took a little boat ride the other day, and these are numbered. This is I believe that, correct me if I'm wrong, but this is the old Boise docks along Frogmore Slough and your new land there. And I believe these are your docks, or your piling. So I thought I'd bring it to your attention of what you got up there. Let's look at picture number 1. That is a sunken sailing boat that was drug up there from Sand Island docks and left to sink. And it's sitting in one of the most polluted sites on the Columbia River right there. That, for anybody that doesn't know, when I was a young man, that was the main effluent of Boise Cascade. That water literally steamed. In the middle of the summertime, there was steam coming off that water. It bubbled from the black liquor coming off of it. And that's that spot. So that is sitting in the very contaminated area. So that's your vessel now. Picture number 2 is a barge with a bunch of garbage on it and a derelict commercial fishing boat that is probably full of fuel, oils, waiting to sink. I wished I could pinpoint the owner of that, but I can't. But it's there, it's yours, sitting on your land. And I don't believe he's paying rent. And I would guess he doesn't have a lick of insurance. Picture 3 is looking upriver from there, and you can see that there's a tugboat and a barge And I believe he is just freeloading on your land and enjoying free rent, no insurance, et cetera, et cetera. I personally own a commercial fishing boat, and it's in Chinook Harbor in Chinook, Washington right now. And for me to pull it into that harbor, I have to carry a $1 million liability oil spill insurance. So this guy's got none. Well, that's my guess. This guy was a part of the big fiasco down at Goble, and it took $1 million to clean it up, and from there, he's moved to here. Picture 4 is a sailing boat. This is just offshore from your Sand Island walk, or your city park, your city walk. You can see the gravel pile up there, that's your land. There's a canoe and another boat there on the beach. They're doing something in town. That guy in the sailboat may think he's freeloading and getting away with it, but those are your pilings he's attached to. He's tied to your 2 pilings, they're yours. So just a heads up, that's just out of sight, but not out of mind for me. If it sinks, it's a big deal to clean up. Any questions or discussion on that?
I'm glad you bring this to us because you can bring it to us, we might not respond, but it's our due diligence to respond to that at some time now that it's public record. Thank you.
You're welcome. My pleasure. And I would like to see something done. I spend a lot of time on the river. It's an eyesore to me to travel by. And the worst thing is that if it sinks, it's a pollution hazard. It's just going to crap up that whole, that beach is already polluted, but if it sinks, it's an immediate fix. You got to go get after it. And who pays for that? The city insurance company does. You don't have any. Moving to Sand Island docks.
You got your 5 minutes, Jim.
No way.
Yeah, you did.
The Sand Island deal is a fiasco. Again, picture number 5 is a picture I took at Sand Island, and it says this facility is owned and operated by the City of St. Helens Parks Department. And what's going on over there is, who knows? There's fights. That fight lasted 3 hours, I guess. Over the top battle royal between a bunch of couples, alcohol related, and who's liable for that? A year, 6 months from now, that injured person comes back and sues the city of St. Helens because they didn't respond to them getting beat up over there. Where is the written safety plan for that island? I am an ex-safety director for a construction company, and you have to have written safety plans to follow, and I know my 5 minutes is up.
Yeah, your 5 minutes is up. What I can tell you citizens is I'm gonna call Sheriff Pixley because, you know, we pay 1/4 of that county sheriff's department too. We don't have a boat. Our guys are not trained to go on the water. We found all this out.
You have a city barge.
We have a city barge that will not transport prisoners. Once they're in cuffs, they become a liability, Tony. We were notified of this. This is not that easy. This was last week's meeting.
Well, how can you have a park, how can you have that park operating over there with no police response?
What I'm going to do, because Sheriff Pixley works for all of us in the whole entire county, they are based right here, I'm going to reach out to him and see if he can get a number for the St. Helens Marina. We pay that as well. It may not seem like we do, but I'm just telling you, we don't get all the stuff we deserve from our county sheriff being in the county seat. And I'll say that one more time. We don't always get, we are the only 24-hour service in Columbia County, our police department. Let me repeat that, the only 24-hour service in Columbia County. We spend, I'm gonna tell you, $3.6 million on policing, actually a little bit more, we increased our wages. The county spends $2.6, including Marine Division.
Mayor, I was hoping I wouldn't get
No.
down to
No, I'm not trying to talk
and,
about you, Jim.
my point is that you have a huge liability on that island. There is no documentation of a safety plan, an evacuation plan, and I've dealt with OSHA, I've dealt with Coast Guard stuff in my previous career, and if you don't have it, you're hanging on a foot, and you're already hanging on a foot.
Appreciate you, thank you. Nothing but respect, Jim. Okay, please state your name for the record and keep it to 5 minutes.
Oh, that's something new.
No, it's not, it's something that's being enforced.
I'm wondering if you guys, did you ever get to look at that, qualifications for your Parks and Rec director?
I recognize you.
Obviously
Yeah,
not.
No, we did, we told you that it was or
It says on your thing, 5 years
experience, yes.
or
Yep.
a BA. Then on the second line, it says or equivalent. Could you please tell me what equivalent means? With 5 years and a BA or equivalent? That's pretty simple. You wrote it.
Associates with a couple, 3 years of experience.
Okay, I'll take it.
Would equal that.
Okay, that sounds good. Well, unfortunately, your Parks and Rec director that you hired or promoted to has none of that. The other 28 applicants had either both and or one or the other. Now, this leads me into the problem with Tina's company that you're having with her. You guys told me last week that you didn't read all the applicants for the Parks and Rec director position. So this tells me that you're trying to get rid of Tina and you're gonna pull the same crap that you did with the Parks and Rec director. You're not gonna read any applications or anything else. Now, I don't know how many other people have lived here that long, but back in the 60s, there was a great big event in St. Helens, Oregon at the Plaza. It was a bullfrog concert, they called it.
Bullfrog 3.
Right on, dude.
Grateful Dead.
And all the old folks in town was afraid there was gonna be troubles, because there was gonna be hippies laying naked on the plaza. That was the last big, it's true.
It's true.
It's true, and that was the last big event that this town had that drawed in thousands of people until Tina came in and developed Halloween Town and other events, which brings money into this community. I don't understand what the hell is the problem with you people? The stupidity that I see here attacking her because you want to change this and you want to change that. And Mr. Burkle, you sat here last week very articulately describing your tour to the Turd Factory. I was impressed how articulate you was and how you described it. You said you had pictures. If you're that articulate over a trip to Lake St. Helens, why can't you pick up the phone or walk over to Tina and ask a question? If you can be that articulate with your field trip, then you could be that articulate with a grown woman, for crap's sake.
She and I are meeting next week.
Well, it's about time. All of this could have been avoided if you people just talk to one another and treat people with a little bit of dignity and respect. It's terrible. You want to cut your nose to spite your face because you, quote, might have a problem with her. Well, so what? Probably half the people in here have a problem with some of you people on here, but they've been treating you with respect and coming here and talking to you like humans. I've talked to you with respect. I haven't said anything to you, Ms.
Not
Chilton.
everyone else in this room has, though.
Well, I said many people. And frankly, I think what you're trying to do is a big disservice to this town. I never used to come into St. Helens. Now, when Tina took it over, the grandkids went to the Fairy Festival or whatever that was called. You know, they went to certain events, and it brings people in. And there was money spent there. So I just hope that you get off your high horse, realize what you're doing is not the betterment to the community. You're not doing a betterment to the nonprofits here or the citizens. And again, I would hope if you're gonna stay on your high horse, that you take some action, not like you took when you hired your park and rec director that had absolutely zero, and I repeat, zero qualifications, and take into consideration somebody that's been doing this for years and is successful. I don't get it. It's pretty, I don't know, mind-boggling. I want to say stupid, but I'm trying to be polite tonight because I'm trying to turn over a new leaf. So, there you go. And I would like you to tell me, oh, Matt, you wrote the thing on, who wrote that?
It was a committee of multiple employees as well as city county insurance and other organizations that provided input on the job description.
Well, then you need to follow your own job description rules and either follow them or don't write any. And I suggest on the second line, you either correct that or you remove it because you're contradicting yourself. And you can't have it both ways. Thank you and have a good night.
Thank you. Okay, please state your name for the record and keep your talks to 5 minutes or less.
Russ Lowe. So, I worked with Jim Coleman for a lot of years, and he's 100% correct about the level of risk you face at Sand Island right now. But that's not what I came to talk about. Didn't plan to come here at all tonight, but I want to talk about city docks again. Right now, there's 10 boats there. Probably 8 of them have been there for an extended period of time, what I would call squatter boats. But I want to relate to you an incident that happened Sunday. Some friends of ours brought their boats up from the yacht club, and we came up to the docks Sunday to visit. And one of the individuals down there with not one boat, 2 sailboats down there, who had been there for an extended period of time. We were sitting on the opposite side dock and enjoying our company with our friends. Came out and started yelling incoherently at us for about 10 minutes. It was very uncomfortable, and they asked me, is it like this regularly? And I said, unfortunately it is. I have a question, and that is, what is wrong with ticketing these people? I understand, I agree with you, they're gonna throw the ticket in the river, but it's called progressive discipline. You ticket again, and you cite for trespassing. What is wrong with that alternative in the meantime?
Well, we'll talk to the chief about that.
I know, I don't remember the individual's name, but the boat that Tony was talking about that was trespassed out of here a year ago, he did, he left for nearly a year. Unfortunately, he's back now.
Yeah, he left, right.
Well, right, but not a lot you can do about that, except, as Jim pointed out, those are your filings, the city's filings. That's all I got, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, this is very frustrating. Trust me, we've been working on this for a while, this whole. I'm just about ready to go vigilante on it, and you're gonna pay the bill. And you guys are gonna pay the bill.
I'm with you.
I know I could get people like Jim and to go. You know, that's what's gonna end up happening. This is not okay. We have reached out to this guy who's out working the river constantly with his commercial vessels and continues to bounce around from site to site. And we have even been in contact with him. And these are enormous ships. You don't just grab a hold of them. It's not okay. It was a Superfund cleanup down there in Goble, the same guy. I'm not going to mention his name. I could. Public lands. Everybody knows who it is, who's in the boating world. I've continued. We have not ever taken a dime from him or asked him to do anything for us. And this is okay. Even our pylons down here at the marina. That's our row going out. Tied up next to them. Snapped one off. I got pictures on my phone probably still of it. I probably still do. As a matter of fact, this will show you how I've really been trying to work on this. I'm gonna see if I can reference my pictures here. Yeah, is there any other visitor comments while I'm looking through my pictures?
Don't show him that one.
Can I speak here then? Or can I not?
No do-overs.
You even if I didn't use my full 5 minutes.
Oh, yes, Carmen, you can use a minute. I know
I'll be
you-
quick.
Yes.
Again.
Carmen is our chair of our Parks
Yeah,
Parks
so
Commission too.
I don't know what's happening with the conversation, public comment about parks and stuff, but I just wanna say that, over the past 6 months, I think we've seen a lot of really positive change in the leadership in the Parks Department, and I think there's a lot of improvement that's happening, so I think if people are concerned with what's happening there, I would suggest looking back at the last year of Parks and Trails Commission meetings and really seeing city staff involvement and what they're working towards and working on. The other piece that I want to state, again, I don't know the context, but hearing about specific lines in a job description and saying that someone doesn't meet this exactly, I just want to say that anybody who's applied for a job, typically you apply for a job where you don't meet all of the qualifications. But one of the things that you're supposed to do is apply for a job that maybe you don't meet all of them, but then you try to prove your point why you would be a good fit for the position. I've been hired for jobs in the past at many different places where I don't meet all the qualifications, and that's okay because I end up being the best candidate. So again, I don't know the context. I didn't hear everything that happened in the last meeting. It sounds like there's some spillover happening, but just want to say that I support our city park staff. They're doing a great job, and just wanted to put that out there. So, thank you.
Thank you, Carmen. Okay.
Anyone who doesn't know anything about Carmen, she's the one who spearheaded our last call-in from the Blazers to get people around town to call in.
Good point.
And exactly, that's what it takes, is somebody who is very committed. And she initiated that call-in, and what happened? Bingo. You know, we have the new playground that will be dedicated next week. So
This Saturday.
But also,
very credible, Carmen.
This is Day in the Park, and Carmen did, she signed us up, just like Doug said, for MODA Assist program. We were competing against 3 cities, Sandy, Astoria, and St. Helens, and it was up to the public to vote. Put out a campaign once Carmen got us signed up. And the grand opening is at 11:30 this Saturday. Come out, get a free burger. We will be flipping burgers, and well, yes, for you.
Duggan was also a huge part of that.
Yeah, she was huge. City staff was huge in helping them.
Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and move on to our agenda items now. The visitor comment is over. And I did have those pictures on the front. Approved and authorized for signature. 1, agreement with Scappoose Bay Watershed Council for collaborating on maintenance and improvement of natural areas and for judicial service. And 3, contract payments.
I got a question, I believe, on contract. Well, first of all, you need a motion.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to approve items 1, 2, and 3 under authorization to sign.
I'll second.
Okay, discussion.
I have I don't have it up on my site. Too much has been going on with tonight's meeting. And I'm looking at the sidewalks on Pittsburgh Road by a certain company who did those. Could someone help me out with that? Where I find it?
Contract payments?
The contract payments, are we there?
Yeah.
Am I in the wrong place?
North Bernardi sidewalk project, 7,000?
Am I in the wrong place?
Number 3, right? Contract payment.
Yes.
That's right.
Yeah. Okay, there's a couple things I want to know. Oh, here it is. Okay. There's that would be on page 20 of the packet. I went over that. I kind of scoured that for a bit, and I see that this is $27,774.45 over. Now, I start going through that, and there's various items in there. One for flaggers, $1,350 over. General excavation, $16,526.58. It goes on, and all adds up to $27,774.45 that we owe. Now, as long as I've been on council, I've never seen anyone who came up short and that would owe us money from their estimate being too much, and they didn't reach that. That just doesn't happen. But it always happens with this overage. So my question, I think, is for Public Works and Engineering. Is there, I know that there's an inspector in engineering out there looking and making certain that the sidewalks don't have cracks in them and they're all up to specs and that kind of thing. My question is for the staff is there an engineer inspector who goes out there like I did when I developed property and was out with the subs and saying, hey, are you over on the price because you had to do this? And if so, how much? And is there any way that you can make do with this? And there needs to be some accountability, I think, on overreach when it happens. Not after it happens and then we discover it in council and vote on it without really knowing what happened with a report. So I have a little bit of a conflict on this, and I'm voting no on this until it gets resolved in my mind what these overages mean and how much and why they happen. I think we need a report on any overage. That's my comment.
So, are we able to, can we get a next understanding now how that?
We just kill the whole thing and approve 1 and 2, and then we just.
Well, I can speak a little bit on it, is that the project had some undersight from our city public works at the time, director and engineer, and that part of this was just stuff that wasn't budgeted in, that was was an oversight that had to be done to meet qualifications, and I hate to say it like that, but that's what a lot of that is. It's not a contractor trying to gouge us, and there is oversight. I did meet and I was talking about this project because it was the tail end of it, with Mohammed, and he said that one's over budget. It was just not all there to finish the project. That was his explanation, and long and short. So I didn't go into depth. I didn't know about this today,
Yeah.
I knew it was over, but I didn't,
Kind of surprised to me.
Yeah, yes, so it does happen on occasion where cities have some oversight, and that's what, there's a little bit more than just a little bit.
I think that if there's ever an overreach again, then.
And that's the whole project too.
Yes.
The whole, all the way down North Vernonia.
I think that if there's ever an overage again, that the Public Works needs to talk to the liaisons, you and myself, so that I know and there's no surprises when it comes to a contract payment, and I see this. And I see it and I go, whoa, this is an overage, no one said anything to me, and so I am surprised by it. So how do you expect me to react? Okay?
No, yeah.
So that's kind of like, maybe we can send a message back to whatever department is on an overage. Doesn't matter if it's Public Works or if it's the library or whatever. If it's an overage, we want to hear about that to our liaison on the council so that we aren't surprised. So I'm surprised. Okay, so until I sit down with our Public Works Director and our engineer to find out why this happened and how it happened, then I would be satisfied and I would vote yes for it. So I would be glad to vote yes for 1 and 2, but not for the third one. If other people on the council come along with me, that's fine. If they don't, that's fine. I'll take my message to the Public Works Director and to the city engineer. Okay? So just as long as you know how I stand.
Is this the only contract? Because there are other contracts that need to be approved tonight, right? Right. So is this the only contract?
It's the only one because I was going through that and I, you know, kind of like, I've looked at it just like anyone would going, I don't understand this, what? And if this happened to a development that I was doing, yeah, I'd be surprised. And so I'm doing my due diligence as the liaison to this department and saying, no, I want to understand this. So I don't think that's going to hurt us if we don't pay the bill at this time. And it can come back again next, our next council meeting. So, if so, but let's see where the chips fall.
And again, I'm just letting you know, and I guess I come in a little bit more than you do, and Mohammed had mentioned that was over budget. And John, I'm sure you're aware of that same message, being the supervisor,
So there's
administrator.
a couple things there. There's 3 items on that line item agenda. Number 3 has 4 parts to it. It has 4 contract payments.
Right.
So we're only talking about the Emery and Sons change orders that were authorized as part of the $600,000 $590,000 council approved that contract. There's a couple of change orders that, for whatever reason, I don't know all the detail on what those change orders represent, but it bumped up that contract value.
Did each one of these issues here have a change order then? Like for a flagger? I mean, that wouldn't be a change, that would not have, and it should be a communication to.
It's be probably more of a breakdown of the task detail.
Percentage.
Okay, so we have, for a change order, we know that there's gonna be a price difference. For other things, the missteps that's what we're really worried about, is the missteps.
It appears to be a communication issue with the.
Well, it's a misstep, I don't care what the mechanism is. But for known changes where we're alerted to, there's a change order. We have paper trail to that.
Well, and it's, with a lot of public works projects, you get into the ground and you find things you didn't expect that weren't.
But then you put in a change order.
And this, yes.
And that means the inspector has to do more stuff and stuff like that. But just to say, oh, we found something, then we're gonna charge $87 more for it, doesn't seem like the right thing to do. I need a paper.
That's not the case here, though.
I know, I'm trying to find out, what's our mechanism for when these things happen, how do we keep track of it?
What I can tell you is it was work performed, it was known, we hired a new public works director, and it was one of those things that this project went out a long time ago when we first put this out for bid, and he said there was some oversights and that he was having to clean up some issues, and that's just the nature of sometimes these bigger projects where you run into things, and I'm guessing the flagger was just a breakdown of projects. I'm not here to try to justify why Emery and Son, but they've done a lot of work for the city of St. Helens. I don't think there's any gouging there by any means.
No, I'm saying, but it should have been a change order.
Yeah, well, it'll be the benefit or the non-benefit of not approving this. I mean, do they file we owe interest, your bill's still outstanding? Because government's fairly slow to pay, typically for contractors. I know this. I deal a little bit.
Well, all I need is some time to go talk to our public works director and find out why, and that's it. If you folks say, go talk to the public works director and find out, I mean, the rest of the council says that, I'm fine with that. I'm fine with this going forward, but I need to get on the public record saying that I'm going to question this.
I would support that, for you to go do that.
Yeah, okay.
So I understand, Councilor Morton, is that in the future, especially, you want to be in the loop.
Exactly.
When this type of thing happens, and I think that's totally appropriate, of course, talking with our public works director, but the work the contractors performed the work according to their best understanding of the direct working with our folks. They did the work, so
So if you go forward with it, that's fine. I will talk to our public works director and our city engineer, find out what happened. Hopefully you got
Patrick, I agree with you on, except for, hey, something came up that we didn't understand. You've gotta put a change order for tracking it. You're still gonna have to do it, you're still gonna pay for it. But there ought to be a paper trail when it happened, that we noticed it now. That's really, I think, what the real question is.
And there's no reason to think that that didn't happen.
No, we're not saying that.
Summary of the contract.
We're not saying that,
orders here.
we're saying we want a paper trail of when, and we found out that this just happened, fine. But that's the real question, we're trying to find out, we want control of the system as compared, oh, we found this other problem, like.
Well, I just asked the liaison, one of two, I gave you the answer, and I'm kind of, just a little bit as your mayor as well, a little hurt that I did talk to Mohammed about it, I was aware of it, anybody could have asked Mohammed about it at any point in time, and he would tell you, and because it got brought up under contract payments and it's in front of us, I'm letting you, probably not as clear as the information as Mohammed could, but that it was not looked at, not all the T's and the I's, T's weren't all crossed and the I's weren't all dotted on this original project. It's the best way to explain it, and that's what we have here today, but we have a finished product of a very nice sidewalk with flashing yellows and, but I feel like I'm kind of being a little bit undermined and, again, you have this in your packet, Mohammed's a phone call. I can call him right now. And he will answer.
I don't think it's a
No,
matter of
no,
care.
no.
You're taking it to heart, Mr. Mayor.
No, what I'm trying to say as a liaison, if my word's not good enough, then what's the point of being a liaison?
You didn't tell me.
I just explained.
No, I mean, ahead of time, so we didn't question it at this moment.
And so, if you guys wanna table it, fine, and you wanna put it towards later, because of why, because you think I'm full of shit?
No,
then we'll do that.
we're just talking paperwork now, that tracking.
No, I just want to go forward with the vote. I might vote yes.
Okay. Is it a call a question, is that?
Yeah, that's where I'm at.
Proper,
Yeah,
Robert,
call
call
the
the
question.
question that we
Yeah.
close discussion and
Yes.
vote.
All right, so, Council President Morton. Well, it's been a long night, you guys.
I thought you were going to leave me to last.
Nope, I always call you first.
Okay, I'll say no.
No.
So,
I think you need to
make your
see that.
no.
We did make the
We
motion.
did, and we seconded it.
But you also had question about leaving the one out, so you just wanna leave it all out. Okay.
You just say no to everything and we,
All right.
We'll
No.
reinitiate the motion.
Okay,
Yeah, the
yeah, that's
motion-
what I'm
motion right
talking
now is to
about.
not
Let's
do
make it difficult
item
on
3.
ourselves.
Yeah.
Okay.
So wait,
Councilor Travis.
no.
Councilor Chilton.
No.
Councilor Berkeley.
I have a question. I'm voting,
For the
my vote for
entirety.
yes would be for the entirety.
Entirety, yes.
Yes, aye.
I'm an aye as well. So we have 3 noes, motion fails. So none of them are approved. So now we can start and you guys can figure this out.
I'll make a motion that we approve item number 1 and 2
Second.
as read.
Oh, so you wanna leave all the contract payments out? Not just the third one on the contract payments, you wanna go ahead and leave them all out?
You have to, because there's one category.
No, we can leave it happy.
I'm making a
We can
motion
leave
to
the one
See
out.
how confusing this is?
I'm making a motion to approve and authorize for signature agreement with Scappoose Bay Watershed Council, collaborating on maintenance and improvements in the natural areas of city-owned property. That's one. And I'm making a motion also to approve and authorize for signature agreement with Amy Lindgren for judicial services. 1 and 2.
Second.
So we're not gonna pay any of the payments under contract.
We haven't come up with whether we're gonna do
It's
anything.
on my consent agenda for approval. In order, I want to discuss it, and if you want to amend it. Now, I'm trying to get you guys out of your own way on this, and you're not allowing me to. And I'm really upset right now.
I recommend approving items 1 through 3, except for the payment to Emery and Sons.
Exactly.
Okay, we
Exactly.
modified, we'll do that.
That is what Counselor.
No, it is not what he said.
That's what he meant, though.
That's not what he said.
Okay, agreed, both ways.
So, make a motion.
But doesn't that require an
You know, you guys-
amendment
I'm
to
trying
the
to be
original
professional
Yes.
motion?
We are not looking professional. This is really a shit show, and I apologize that my answer wasn't good enough. That me talking to Mohammed about this project, and it went over because it's a big project and all the Ts and the Is were dotted, crossed and the Is were dotted, that we have 27,000 and we're stuck doing this right here.
You going on your soapbox is what's embarrassing.
Yeah.
Okay?
We got a parliamentary way to
So,
solve the problem.
I have yet to hear the exact motion, even though Kathy made the recommendation. Mohammed's watching, and
I'll make that recommendation as stated by Kathy Payne.
Second.
Just a rule of order, you've already had a motion.
Yeah, we've got to clean out
So
the
you
other
need
one.
to vote,
we
obviously.
didn't, we shot that down.
No, we've got a
The motion that
second.
Doug made was seconded by Counselor Topaz.
We
So
gotta get
you have
cleaned
a
up.
motion on the floor that needs to be voted
All
on.
right, so there's been a
and then you
motion
can create a new
made and seconded, you're right, that, to approve and authorize signature 1 and 2. Council President Morton?
No.
Councilor Topaz?
No.
Councilor Chilton?
No.
Councilor Berkeley? It's just for the first two.
Yes. We're talking about the agreement with Scappoose Bay and the agreement with Amy Lindgren.
Yeah, but,
I
okay.
vote aye to approve their,
Okay, I'm gonna go no because it's gonna be amended, so the motion failed.
Correct.
So now you can,
I make a motion that we move with Kathy Payne's motion as stated, or her recommendation as stated.
Second.
Okay, a motion's been made and seconded to approve, authorize for signatures 1, 2, and 3, except for the contract payment to $27,000 as Kathy Payne recommended. Council President Morton.
Aye.
Councilor Topaz.
Aye.
Councilor Chilton.
Aye.
Councilor Berkeley. Councilor Nye as well. All right, consent agenda for acceptance for contract payment, or contract with Geodesign Inc., DBA NV5 for geotechnical services for soil stabilization at Campbell Park.
I move we accept the contract with Geodesign Incorporation.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded to approve the agenda for acceptance for Council President Morgan.
Aye.
Councilor Topaz.
Aye.
Councilor Chilton.
Aye.
Councilor Berkeley.
Aye.
And I'm an aye as well. Consent agenda for approval, 5, amendment library curriculum policy, 6, American Rescue Plan Act ARPA funds allocation, 7, council minutes dated July 14th and 16th, 2021, 8, accounts payable bill list items.
I move we approve consent agenda for approval items 5 through 8. As read.
Second?
I have a comment.
Okay, question.
On the minutes, there were no minutes for the executive session in the packet. According to state law, we're supposed to have very preliminary minutes on all executive sessions.
Which
Even
executive session are you talking about?
the last one, which would have been, what, July 17th or something around there.
What does that have to do with 5 through 8?
21st.
Because it's under minutes.
Okay.
It's
We'll make sure they're on for the next one.
okay, thank you.
So minutes, okay, the 14th and 16th, I see that.
Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and wipe that one off there? Or just make sure that they're published?
The- He's saying, from what I understand, he's saying that the executive session minutes from the last July meeting,
Right.
July 21st,
Mm-hmm.
I believe, were not included in the packet.
But they're not listed on here.
Well, that's why they're not in the packet, because I can't find them.
They'll go into the next.
That'll be next one.
packet.
Yeah, okay.
That's always a question.
executive session summary, July 21st, it's in the packet.
It's minutes, not summary.
That is what the minutes are. Those are
Yeah.
summary minutes.
Yes, that's way, as generally subject.
I was looking at the
You're right.
bottom of the minutes.
You're right, Councilor Berkeley, thank you very much for your fast. Okay, so a motion's been made and seconded to approve consent agenda 5, 6, 7, 8, Council President Morgan.
Aye.
Councilor Topaz.
Aye.
Councilor Chilton.
Aye.
Councilor Berkeley.
Aye.
And I'm an aye as well. Okay, work session items from earlier. Again, I brought it to the council's attention, and it's something that I ethically have to do as a mayor working for all citizens to notify this council that Councilor Topaz is continuing to came to the end requesting that a resolution be put on I'm gonna get the actual number right here. Resolution 1872 be put on the agenda. And he didn't, okay, with John Walsh. He was asked, did he get approval of 2 counselors? Because that's our process, yourself plus 2 counselors, or just run it by the mayor and get it put on the agenda. Did neither, and said if it didn't, there was gonna be hell to pay. Did not check in with John. That is our disciplinary action that we put on him, was to censor him from our staff. This deputy recorder had no right to come in and kind of threaten, in a way, when you say there's gonna be hell to pay. If you wanna tell that to me, Counselor Topaz. Topaz, no, wait a minute, I'm not done.
Oh, good, keep going.
Because there's more to it.
Keep going, yeah, no, let's
If you
just
would like
take
to
the first
tell me
item
that,
there.
Or you can get the approval of 2 counselors. Do not direct anything that needs to go on this agenda to any staff member other than myself, or get the approval of 2 other counselors. That's our rules.
That's illegal.
So, no, it's not. It's by our charter. It's by our charter and it's our rules. It's not illegal. So, and then, Councilor Topaz, I got notified last week, got pulled over by the Columbia County Sheriff's Department in the wrong lane, and when he was approached by the sheriff, he presented him with his city councilor card, and the sheriff felt so horribly, that it was so horribly wrong, let his supervisor, Brent Thompson, know, who called me. Now, he's representing us as a council, and the people who voted for him need to know that he is representing, when I get pulled over, I have my driver's license and insurance. That's it. That's all that's needed. I brought this up at the League of Oregon Cities. I just got back from the mayor's conference about some issues I've been having. And they all wish me well, because it was a nightmare what I've been going through. And I'm trying to bring professionalism to this, and it seems like we continue to work against ourselves. And it's not okay. You can sit there and smirk all you want. You're getting exactly what you wanted. But I want to let you as a council know that I cannot sit up here, and we made this as a group decision, this disciplinary action. He is not following the rules. I warned him once, and now here we are again, where he came in unannounced and threatened the staff that Resolution 1872, which is the marijuana sale, for those people out there in the public that have been watching our meetings, know that it has been nonstop with him over this sale, in his eyes, the illegal sale of this property.
Yes,
And there's been an approval, and so now I'm gonna open it up, and I asked this to be put on an action item. I am denouncing this behavior. I just want it to, that's my action right now. I am denouncing the behavior and conduct of Councilor Topaz as a city councilor, and he does not represent this council as a whole. That's my action right there.
May I speak in my defense?
Everybody will get a chance to speak on this one.
According to some of the rules, if we, the council, want to discuss something, it's kind of illegal to have a serial council meeting where I first talk to Doug and I talk to that person and that person, and I come up. That's illegal. Now, according to the rules, I've got to talk to 2 people. 2 people plus myself is a quorum. And it also says those 2 people and Topaz have decided to vote, because that's 3 yes votes and no public's involved. That's the first thing. And that's against the rules according to the ethics board. So, and now, this, item 1872, the particular resolution which was passed says that the council gives John Walsh and our mayor the right to discuss and sign for the sale on the marijuana place. Again, back to the law, you cannot, as an elected body, elect not to do your duty. So there's a question on whether that resolution is good at all. Now, the next part of it, recently we've been sued, the city's been sued by Boise because of problems with the marijuana sale. And I can tell you this because this is a public document. I've gotten the documents from the courts, and it's an 83-page document of the problems. And the judge was asked to delete this thing, and she refused. But in the process, which is kind of confusing, she describes some of the problems with this. And one of the statements is, because of a couple of procedural things, the sale is null and void. The real problem comes with the next group of sentences. She said the city has to handle the problem. The city is our council, not the staff. So the only person in this, John Walsh is part of it, but he's not the city, he's the staff. So it's only the council has now got this problem with the courts. So that's why I wanted to clean up this 1872, so we knew the whole council was going to get the whole story, not just part of it. The total thing with all the items and the discoveries is something like 300 pages on this legal suit. And right now, it's the council who's going to get caught with that, not John, because of procedures. And this is what I try to bring up is a problem. Now, I was told if I have a problem and I have to go see Kathy, to go see Kathy. I went to see Kathy, and they're redoing the room, and she's not there. So I went and found Lisa. And I said, we're going to have problems, which is correct. And that's the problem I'm talking about. We have a big problem with a legal suit because of procedure that John and our mayor were designated to take care of way back when, and the designation is probably wrong. That's the problem we have. So go for it.
Do you want to talk on the other point?
Yes, I'll say on the other point.
Oh, yeah.
Good. As everybody knows, when you drive by the railroad tracks, you're going to make a right-hand turn by the Kubota place, which I did. I crossed the yellow line, or the center line there. Pulled over, got a guy right behind me on my tail was the county sheriff. And he wanted my driver's license, etc., which I gave him. And he said, what's your name? And I gave him my card, my personal card. Now I take it out of my wallet and I put on the dash the card that has the city council on. So the card you can see for the city council is on the dash. The card I handled them was my personal card. Now the next thing, I talked to a county sheriff and I was cited for the wrong thing. So fine. I get crossed off. I have more violations getting into my driveway going from St. Helens Street across 4th Street than I did by the Kubota place. And I don't know how many people almost come to a stop to make that right-hand turn. I did that. The nearest car coming at me was down by that little water pond by the sheriff's department. So we didn't have any mechanical safety problems. But I did cross the line. There's no problem about that.
Okay,
So that's what,
Yeah, it was on body cam, and I just want to state that it was on body cam.
And you'll see that my personal card is handed to him.
And that you're probably not going to see on the card. Very clever, but I don't see why I would even get a phone call. I'm going to let everybody get a chance to talk. Councilor Berkeley, go ahead. I
No, well, I think there are two distinct issues. One is the issue with the sheriff's deputy. I have no reason to doubt the report of law enforcement and the sheriff in this incident. But I do think that it is related in a general way to the other issues that we have addressed with Councilor Topaz in terms of representing the city. But my main concern is for not conforming with the expectations for interactions with city staff. That when we made our decision, we were doing that with the welfare and well-being of our city staff first and foremost. So in this, I do trying to think of the word. Condemn is strong, but that decision to approach city staff in a manner that would cause our staff to not feel safe with the performance of their job. And for that, I don't know what additional, if we have any additional way or sanctions or prohibitions or safeguards to put in place. I do not know. If there are that we need to do, I think we should follow those. Councilor Topaz, I do believe that your action with the deputy reporter was contrary to
Well, she was not,
decision of this.
she was not threatened. The statement was made that there's gonna be big problems. That is correct.
Councilor Lopez, please allow Councilor Berkeley a chance to talk. It's his turn.
Okay.
Or I'll call point of order.
Go ahead and give me the rules for point of order, please.
Okay.
Are you good?
Well, so,
No, I gotta sign.
sorry, I thought
these.
you were looking at
No, I
the,
gotta sign these. I'm multitasking.
okay, the point of words. Tonight we heard testimony from a resident about an incident at Halloween Town that I did. And as I reflect on that, it is not so important what I perceive, how I perceive I interacted. It is the perception of individuals, especially if we're in a situation of authority over them, and as city councilors, we have that over our city employees, that while we may not believe that we are taking effort, it's not our perception, it's their perception, and we need to take that into account. And so I think that is a difference there. And I believe that she felt that she was in a difficult, uncomfortable situation that we had made an effort to avoid and to prevent.
My turn?
Yeah.
Okay. Short and sweet. Councilor Topaz, you know that you needed to go through John.
Now, officially, I could go to Kathy or John.
But Kathy was unavailable, that doesn't mean you get to go to
That's her
Lisa. That
assistant.
means you have to follow the formalities and
That's
come back. I know you feel
She is the
passionate.
assistant of Kathy, and in Kathy's
Lisa
office.
is not the assistant of Kathy. Lisa is an assistant city recorder. That does not make her Kathy's assistant. Just like as an assistant city administrator does not make me John's assistant.
Matt, I'm gonna ask you to refrain, okay?
You know, Councilor Topaz, the avenues which has been placed before you to do what you needed to do. I understand you feel passionately about it. That doesn't mean you get to jump through hoops, and you have to do the due process.
We have had process, because I've had to go to Lisa when Kathy isn't around, and there's been no problem, because the understanding was that office I have access to. That's my misunderstanding.
And as far as the police situation, it's not my place to question a sworn officer. Unfortunately, That is the report that has been given to us.
Okay?
And if I were pulled over, I wouldn't give them my business card. Even if it wasn't my city council card, it wouldn't be appropriate to give them my business card either. Driver's license, registration, insurance, go along with your business. So regardless what card you gave them, it was inappropriate.
I don't know if that's legally defined, but I'll accept your observation.
Dr. Topaz, we're not here to try to, letting everybody have their statement. And unless you like this dialect, I don't. I would just want everybody to
I'm
make their
done.
statement. Council President Morton?
Yeah, I think, Councilor Topaz, that you frightened Lisa. She was frightened and afraid, and she reacted to that by complaining. And I think maybe there's a disconnect with you in terms of your presence of what you do to people. But she was frightened. And that's why we voted some time ago to censor you, because people in City Hall, especially women in City Hall, were frightened of you. And you might not think that you would do anything in terms of violation or to them, but they're frightened of you. And that's it, you know. And I censored you from coming in and having this circumstance happen like it did. We hopefully anticipated that it wouldn't happen, but it has. So I'm disappointed. And I'm disappointed that, and I feel for Lisa for being frightened. She could sue the city.
Fine. I've been.
No, it isn't. No, that isn't fine.
Well,
I'm just saying she could do that because she.
Yes, I know.
Topaz,
But perception is a strange thing.
I know I know it's important in this sense. The other issue about being stopped on the highway, I can't address. I really don't know what happened, other than what happened with the mayor of the county, the county sheriff's deputy calling the mayor and saying, "What's the deal?" That puts, the mayor represents the council, and we represent the council, and law enforcement was appalled by what you had done. Otherwise, they would not have reported it. It's almost the same thing as what happened with Lisa.
Exactly.
So.
Well, there's one more thing with the policeman, let's go back. Okay.
I'm not done, and I just wanted to make that point, that the two issues were quite similar in a sense in terms of behavior, and hopefully, you know, I just hope it doesn't continue, because it does reflect the council, and I am at this point ashamed to be a part of this council. If it continues to manifest, it's going to be hard for me to feel good about doing all the things that I was so proud about prior to these incidents happening. So does it affect me? Yes. And I think, I don't know if it affects the new council in the same way, that I'm pretty proud of my track record of what we've done up to this point. Now it gets to a point where people come in and say, this is all broken and you should be ashamed. Well, I kind of am. So I just hope for the best. And I don't want to sound like a peace advocate or anything like that, but there's something that we've got to do better.
So,
Mr. Mayor, did the policeman tell you the other thing I told him that he had done wrong?
Councilor Topaz.
I asked you a question, yes or no? Did
the policeman what?
I
On
told
my
the
feet.
policeman The sheriffs, that they had done something wrong, did he tell you about that?
That he had done something wrong?
No, the sheriff's department had done something wrong, and he was gonna take care of it.
The sheriff department had done something wrong. So here's what
Well, he didn't say that,
here's
yes
what
or
I
no?
have. I've been
Yes or
listening
no?
to,
You're not answering, thank you.
No, I'm not gonna hear these half-truths that Mr. Topaz continues to spin lies and manipulate half-truths. Why would I get a phone call from Brent Thompson, period? The undersheriff, that one of his deputies pulled you over, saying that you handed him your city council card. Why would I get that phone call, just out of the blue? Why would I pick up that, and it is on
Take a
video?
look, okay, see,
And I'm
Mr.
tired of his half-truths, he sits up here and makes it half-truths be the truth. The truth of the matter is, anybody who wants to put anything on the agenda, one counselor plus 2 approvals is perfectly legal by Oregon ethics law.
No, but.
Yes, it is,
That's
absolutely.
against the rules.
It is absolutely
In
not
our
to do
case,
that, and we can
that's
do it, there's no discussion on it, it's a discussion topic. Don't interrupt me, Councilor Topaz.
Are you calling me?
I will call point of order, I do run this
Thank you.
meeting, this is my jurisdiction. It was on my retreat, as a matter of fact. Now, I am gonna take charge of this council, and we will be back to professionalism. I just got back from the mayor's retreat, it was one of my topics. So yes, this is my meeting. If you're gonna continue to interrupt me, I will call point of order and have you removed. Now, you are the master at spinning half-truths and dropping bombs for the public to see out there that are not true. And you're trying to get out of personal trouble right now. You tried using a card to get out of personal trouble. I believe that's unethical. The Ethics Commission, we've already tried dealing with that.
And you lost, yep.
Oh, we did not lose. Now, you're talking about, did I file an ethics complaint against you?
No, but you forgot to sign your letter of intent or education with the illegal meeting we had in Portland.
That is untrue. That is untrue. I went.
You went? You didn't sign your letter.
This is what he does. Well, this is what he does well, and he's out there selling it. So you voters that voted for him know that what he's actually telling you is not the truth. I can verify that 100%. I am a man of my word. I am not proud of my behavior up here lately. It's been very frustrating. It's been this guy on the end who has been causing a lot of this. I am not happy with my behavior. Exactly, 100%. I apologize. I am man enough to apologize for myself. It is this guy who has continued to ridicule and belittle professional staff members up here. Every day that he can get a chance to do it, he'll do it. Instead of encourage and promote, he wants to put down and make himself look good. And this is why I did this. Lie. You're a liar, Councilor Topaz, and I've had enough. That's my opinion. I'm not speaking as a city councilor or as the council for a whole. My opinion is you are a liar. The master at half-truths. That is called lying by omission. So, we're done. We're done.
You mean I can't change something now?
No, you can't change. You don't have your report.
My report
Now, that was
is-
an action item, and the action was, if you wanted to denounce it, you could, and we're all done. We had other items up for action. We're on action items on.
By the way, the last thing I had to bring up.
Councilor Topaz.
No, I've had my.
You are interrupting. Councilor Topaz, I'm gonna have you removed, and you're not gonna like it.
Well, remove me, because I want to tell the people
Councilor Topaz.
that you're $870,000 in arrears for not collecting money.
Councilor Topaz, you are about ready to be removed from this meeting. Are you really gonna continue to go there?
Well, I just
We
wanted to
are
tell the
on
people.
action items right now.
Okay, go.
Okay. So, we had some other items earlier that were supposed to be kicked up from our day session. There was the issue of, I see,
Hybrid.
the hybrid, yes.
I have 4 things on the
Okay,
list.
could you reference those? Let's go in order.
The first is the Schlumberger property.
Yes.
The second is beekeeping, just directing staff to move forward.
Yep.
The third one is the awards for the $4,500 that were discussed for the $500 for 9 different agencies. And then the last one was the Mayor Reed presentation and moving forward.
Accepting the Riverwalk
Yeah.
Technical Advisory Group's preferred.
I believe that was it.
Okay, did staff have a chance to look at the video and the recommendation and what did we see there?
I did, and when it starts, the motion is about 2856 in, and I think there was a question of the best of both worlds in regards to the Skinny Street standard or the turnout. And the motion in the minutes was per the video, which is with the 12 conditions read by the city planner and adding the condition of a hybrid road alignment. So as stated in there, I also had a little bit of conversation with our city council. So his recollection was similar to mine in that it was a little bit of both, because the turnout is wider than the Skinny Street standard. The Skinny Street standard is 20, the turnout standard is 24 for a length of 30 feet. Naturally, there's going to be a transition. It's not just going to be a right angle, and I think that's just a common sense thing that is reflected in the final construction plans. So I re-looking at the video, and given the outreach of the report to the legal representatives on all sides, I still believe we got it right. And there's always going to be some fine tuning in the final construction plans. The other thing that Monahan noted to me, that if the council interprets this in a way that could be construed as benefiting the applicant, that you could be opening it for challenge. As we know, this was a considerable.
Sure, that we don't want to do. The applicant even said no, I don't want, he said no.
And there's, usually in the land use decision, we're giving the broad parameters. And when you get to the construction plans, there's fine tuning. That's pretty common. And the parameter was, all right, you have your skinnies part, and then where that blind corner is at, that's where it's increased. And there may be a little fudging here and there based on field circumstances. So anyways, I don't know if I put several times on here. I wasn't sure if you wanted to watch the video or if you just wanted us to watch and report back. But based on what I saw, I just don't see a change.
Did legal counsel, you said, watched it as well?
Well, legal counsel watched the dialogue from today. And Bill Monahan, he was the same one who was involved in the whole thing. And he actually reached out to me. I did not initiate that communication. He observed it, reached out to me, and we just reflected of what we talked about.
Sure. So, well, the applicant has definitely desired not to, I see he's back there, so.
Jacob, one of the things, we've got a lot of words, but do we have a picture of what we think and what they think? I mean, we've got words describing this, and I think we're having a problem with what do the words really mean?
I think you're correct. I think there may be some of that because it was such, it was over a 4-hour meeting and there was so much dialogue.
Yeah, I want to reference Doug. I want to give Doug the opportunity because he wants to talk and he's the one who made the motion.
Dr. Berkeley does also.
Okay.
Yeah. And I just want to reflect on the word hybrid because that's what this is all about. What is the meaning of that word hybrid? Well, earlier we heard testimony from Mayor Reed regarding bring the river to the city or bring the city to the river. No, we want to do a hybrid. Did you hear that? I heard it, and it's the same thing that we're talking about. the best of both worlds. And that's what we were talking about all along, is some kind of compromise to where we get the best of both worlds. And so, to me, it was hopefully for the staff to figure out what the best of both worlds is. And that doesn't mean to go and redesign everything and, take it on to where it's such a serious kind of thing. I don't think that anyone really wants that. I just think the best of both worlds, we're talking about a driveway. We're talking about a little bit of a corner and a driveway that's going to affect one family. So we get into all this restructuring, all of this thing, and I think it's gone beyond what I consider a hybrid. And so I just think it's the best of both worlds. That's up to the staff to figure that out.
Councilor Berkeley.
I think I heard Andrew, Mr. Schlumberger, specifically ask if the hybrid meant extending the entire length of the street that adjoins or abuts your property. So when you asked that, what were you, could you please restate?
Well, Andrew, can you come up so we can
Yeah.
have you on video, because Councilor Berkeley is.
Yeah, when I was asked, I have to do 20 feet wide, 20 feet wide from my property line all the way to the 90-degree corner. If you have a map, I could show you, it'd be easier.
So to Great, you're talking about the night, so Belton, and it does that 90-degree curve.
Yeah, I
and
could
then
show
kind
you.
of Then hits Great, and it's getting.
Yeah, it's pretty much my whole property, and then the 90-degree corner would be a 24 by 30, that 24 by 30. So essentially, it's the whole entire thing. It's not a hybrid, it's a whole.
So my understanding of the hybrid, I guess, is that at the point where Belton does its 90-degree, we would have the turnout, the full turnout 20, maybe 24 foot or whatever, but that it would transition in that, from the Gray Cliffs up to that point, it would transition to what were we talking about, had talked about looking at might have to remove some additional trees in order to broaden it, so that from that point it would be hybrid means at the point, I guess I understood it again, at the 90-degree turn, we have that full width of the 24 feet there, but not along the entire length of the street, that it would transition into.
But how it's written up that I gotta widen the full length of 20 feet. And then when you go to the turn, it's a 24 by 30. So essentially now I'm gonna have to take out about, I think, 3 to 5 more trees.
Is that correct, Jacob?
And there was testimony about that. I think the problem is you have to take the context of the whole meeting into account.
Yes.
There was motions, so there was 3 items. There was the turnout alone, there was widening the entire stretch of the property to 20. Those were the 2 in writing by their legal counsel. Their legal counsel brought up the hybrid, because we kind of mentioned the Planning Commission talked about. That term originally came from the Planning Commission, and it was basically a combination of the 2. 20 feet, except the portion at the turnout out to 24 for a length of approximately 30 feet. I think the dialogue is clear, and it was, and if you look at what their legal representative said, he said, you know what, this is unconstitutional, this is too much, but please impose this on us to approve it. The hybrid option was the more hardcore one. And there were motions for the lesser ones which failed. Ultimately, the council approved one that encompassed the entire property. I believe it is very clear.
Okay, thank you.
You have to take the context of the planning commission and city council and the whole thing. I think hybrid, it probably should have been a different term to avoid this
So I just
confusion.
and I understand that, I get what you're saying, but as a city planner, is 3 trees missing out of the neighborhood versus 6 trees, is what I hear Patrick saying. Is that?
I think it's a damn shame, and that's why my original proposal was the turnout only. But a long time ago, it got beyond my authority.
Yes, I know.
And so if it's not, and it's, it's beyond my opinion and my authority, at this point, we have to go by what was approved in the record.
Okay, no, I agree.
Yes.
And that's fine, I just wanted to ask.
Yep, you wanted to ask definition, what is?
Sure, and
Yeah.
And you have a right to know.
Yeah, I'm not mad at anyone, I'm just asking, just trying to figure out what I needed.
We spent a lot of time and effort on this, so.
This is a year-long battle process, I'm tired of it, over it, it shouldn't have been this long.
Jacob, in arguments like this, when we're having the heat of battle, is it possible to make a picture or drawing? Because obviously, we kind of understand what we think we're saying, but when it gets written down, it goes.
Yeah, there was some good illustrations. They had their preliminary plat was in the record, and it showed the entire stretch. It showed roughly where the turnout would be.
Right.
But it was a huge, several hundred-page record.
So we've talked about it, we don't want to further any action on
fine.
this.
That's fine.
So thank you.
Sounds good, thanks.
We're gonna move on to our next.
Sorry I had to wait all night just for that.
No, thank you, Jacob, for.
All right.
Sure.
Obviously,
The next one on our item
confused
was
looking at beekeeping.
beekeeping, let's go to bees.
So,
Bees.
I talked to Miramar, I think that was the concern, and so did you, and so, it sounded like, so the issue was, what about this complaint? And is that something where, maybe it's gonna make you think differently? And so, my understanding is the neighbor called about the complaint, talking to Miramar, Linda Zoll, of course you met her, she talked to Miramar about talking to the city to get things changed, and mentioned that there was some law that said, the city couldn't prohibit bees. And, talking to legal counsel, I don't think that's quite right. But it sounds like Miramar was in the position, okay, well, if you can get something to work out, that's great. And so, and she also, was uncomfortable getting close to bees and stuff like that. But I think her experience will help feed into the ordinance if, you green light us proceeding with that, to try to make it a little more passive as far as, permitting and stuff like that. But, those are details we could work out. So I don't know if you were satisfied with her answer.
I was. She said that she would like to see a permit form. That way she can check permits, just like she does for chickens.
I'd like to make a motion that we go with the recommendation that Doug was talking about, getting Linda and a committee of people with our city planner to allow to be drawn up, because we have a model ordinance for the city for beekeeping.
Second that.
Okay, Council President.
Aye.
Council Topaz.
Aye.
Council Shelton.
Aye.
Council Berkeley. Aye. I'm an aye as well. Okay, and then our last one was,
Two more, the $4,500 for the grant awards, to the 9
To the 9.
nonprofits that were discussed earlier.
4,500. I thought it was, because we don't make decisions on anything, I think we had enough discussion on it. I like, we just kind of narrowed it down, and we'll vet them a little bit better and plan a little bit better as we continue to do this.
Yes. It's a good formula for now.
Yeah.
I would move that we approve the award of $500 grants to the 9 organizations identified at the work session.
Second.
Okay, Council President Morton.
Aye.
Council Topaz.
Aye.
Council Chilton.
Aye.
Council Berkeley.
Aye.
And own aye as well.
And Mayor Reed.
Yeah, Mayor Reed.
Accepting the Technical Advisory Group's recommendation for the preferred concept for the Riverwalk.
I absolutely loved every bit of that. presentation earlier by Mayor Reed. That's why we're here, and this, serving our citizens, and, this is all part of why we're here, trying to figure out problems. But that was a good presentation, so I'd love to further that. I'm sorry. I'll make a motion.
Which picture are we talking about?
I'll make a motion, the hybrid, the one that she presented.
Second.
One in the lobby.
Yes.
Now, does anyone have any discussion?
Any discussion?
The hybrid is mainly with the gazebo and that end, or the whole thing?
6 trees.
No, the whole thing, or it's 100% design, 30% project. Yeah.
It's, presentation we saw today is represented on the poster boards that are out in the entry there.
Yeah, I mean, check, because there's a lot of.
All of what you saw, there's nothing different than what was shown on the boards and shown on the presentation.
See, because I have a problem with the kayaking, that part was.
It's still early in the design, but it's gives them direction to move forward with the phase 1 improvements and then 30% for the phase 2.
No, so that isn't cast in concrete, it's just something's gonna happen down there as you go along, okay. That's, as compared to, that's cast in concrete.
Phase 1 is really the more critical path.
Okay, so do we have a motion made and seconded, right?
Yep.
Council President Morton?
Aye.
Council Topaz?
Aye.
Council Tilton?
Aye.
Council Berkeley?
Aye.
No, I'm an aye as well. Okay, next thing is, and I'm looking for it, I don't see where it went. Maybe it's my minute packet here. Went to the Oregon Mayor's Conference, and it was, I was gonna show you stuff I did. I was gonna share just a few of the topics, but it was very good to get there and get some legislative updates and take some tours of North Bend is where it was at in Coos Bay. And people say, North Bend, isn't that east? No, it's on the coast. So they have both have adopted urban renewals. We took tours of each one of them on the waterfront. I really like what Bend has got going. Coos Bay has got going on. They both had great projects, but Coos Bay was just a little bit further. And had a couple different urban renewals. Then some of the breakout sessions would be mayor's powers and duties. That's what I went over. So, and talks to, even right here in this little bit of one paragraph, it talks about the mayor is the head of the city council. It is the mayor who presides over the council meetings. It says it right here if you want to read it, if you're questioning, Councilor Topaz. So it also talks about mayor obligations in times of dysfunction. I did attend that one, and that's where I was presented what my scenario was, and everybody said, ugh, that seems like a really bad area to be, good luck. With the staff relationship and the council relationship. It's very unique. They were baffled too. It wasn't just us. So, because this is where we get a lot of our information, as mayors, and we do workshops and roundtable discussions on that. And so, also just self-care is another one. That was really good. No, there was a lot. Legislation part of it. We do have the opportunity to, if somebody would like to, go to Rainier. Would you?
I signed up.
Okay, good. I've already kind of got an update on legislation at the mayor's conference, but I think it's really good to represent St. Helens at that. Actually, they're making a point to come out and give us a report, so. Really good presentation by Mayor Reed. That is the good stuff right there. I am frustrated about this water, the life on the water, these boaters. I have been seriously on this for a long time. I have personally called the one owner of the commercial vessels a number of times. and you can't just move those, and it's very frustrating. And we don't want your money, you just need to move your stuff, and he continues to move it for a little bit and park it in random spots, and then it at least ends up back on our property.
Mr. Mayor.
It's very frustrating. I'm talking about these pictures right here of the industrial ones that we were handed, if anybody'd like that.
Mr. Mayor, following up on that subject, I asked John, could we set up a St. Helens Harbor district? So we could set up our own rules rather than being stuck with state rules and so on. And that means we have to have a water police and all.
Yeah, and I'm frustrated also about the Sand Island situation that we did promise we would police it. We found out further information that we can't police it this last meeting. And I can see why Tony's mad, why Brad's mad, because we did promise that. If you go back and you watch those, we did promise it. And I will try to reach out to Sheriff Pixley tomorrow and see what we can do. I mean, that's not a good situation over there that they had a couple weekends ago, so.
Well, from our last meeting, our chief is dedicated to do something about Sand Island.
Absolutely.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, he is. If we wanted to buy a boat, we could.
It would be solved right now.
Yes. Yep. So that's all I have to report, that we are aware of the issues going on. We're not blind. We're not trying to ignore or anything like that. We care about our community. We don't sit up here and serve because we don't care, you know, most of us. We're not here to harass and slow things down and be a thorn in people's side. We're really not. I can speak, you know, we have an opportunity to do great things here. We do. If we start working together. We are working together, but we need to do a little bit better. I'm willing to put my money where my mouth is. I am not afraid of work. I'm not afraid of facing hard subjects. Like, are you gonna come aboard, Councilor Topaz? We're waiting on the sideline over here. It feels like you're just off on the side fighting against everything that's going on.
What happens if you're wrong and I'm right?
So I'm just gonna say, I've been on this council as long as you've been here, and these other two haven't, so I'm just speaking from myself. When are you gonna join this team and come aboard and quit fighting this team and quit her belittling staff, because you just said it. What's gonna happen when you're wrong and I'm right? Because you're always right. You have to be dead right in every situation. You have to be right. That's one of your greatest flaws, Councilor Topaz. I don't always have the answers. Our staff are pretty talented people. They give me a lot of my answers. And I take it very seriously that I'm moving the city forward. That I wanna work with, council, I wanna work with you, okay? I'm in it too. And, you know, we get a lot of things coming at us. And we have to get some tough skin. And sometimes it's not warranted, sometimes it is. That's all I can say.
Personal attacks are never warranted.
No, they're
That's
not.
inappropriate.
No, you're right. Personal attacks are never.
On anyone.
Because
Staff,
we should be able to talk like
council.
adults.
Yes.
You're absolutely correct, Jessica. So I just wanted to, that's my report, Council President Morton.
Yeah, I just want to reflect a bit on our Parks Commission, and tonight you heard some wonderful testimony from our Parks Chairman, Carmen Dunn. She is leading that Parks Commission in such an effective, creative way and demanding. And it's very interesting of where she's going with that leadership. On that board is also Sean Brewington, who's been here on that board for some time, and Jacob Woodworth, who kind of like, in some senses, oversees and is responsible for our ballparks and those kinds of issues. Howard Blumenthal, who's here tonight, represents Nob Hill Nature Park. Lisa Mann, the dog parks in our city, and we have 3 of them, 2 off leash and one that's caged over Heine Human. And our person, Lynn Pettit, who has the preserve, Dalton Lake Nature Preserve. Just amazing. Paul Barlow with the represents the BMX track. And our latest addition is Brandon Sundin, who's our historian, who sheds light on so many wonderful aspects of history in our parks and in our city. And I can't forget Jerry Belcher, who is kind of our naturalist. He's he just spearheaded a work party down at the Botanical Park that involved about 20 people. Just a wonderful, wonderful, diversified group of people who, guess what, are working together even though they have different interests. And when I came aboard, Howard was in one corner, John Brewington was in another corner, and it was kind of said, not anymore. They're all working together, and they all see the bigger need for our park system. And I've sit back and I appreciate that so much. And I just wanted to say thank you to our Parks Commission. That's all I wanted to say. Went in it with a very positive note tonight.
Got a couple of things to say. As I say, I've mentioned to John about setting up St. Helens Harbor, and that, I don't know how we look into that, but basically be able to build our own rules and enforce them. On that same thing, I've been looking still at the ferry boat across the river, but I've had some conversations both with the mayor of Ridgefield, Woodland, some of our own people at the port, and a couple of things have been brought up in the ferry business. One of the things is, you probably know, you can't have a commercial boat in the U.S. waters unless it's a U.S. built hull. This is the Johnson law. Anyway, there are holes around that will fit that. But the thing that's new has come up is that the high-speed ferry, just very high-speed boats for just carrying people. Typically, a ferry is assumed that you're going to carry people and cars and so on. If you have a vehicle ferry, in case of disaster, you'll automatically lose it to the government. They will pay you to run it and all this, you own it, but it's 100% of their job. One of the facets that come in. But the Ridgefield people and the Woodland people have an interest in having the ferry come there because it gives them a stick, if you would, to work on the state of Washington's highway department to upgrade their interchanges. And the question becomes, if we had a ferry landing here in St. Helens, does that give us a stick to work on a better way to get to Route 30? We've got to look into that. The other thing that comes up in the ferry business, we have a ferry. We don't own it, we lease the rights for the ferry. Or we own it and we lease the rights to run it. There's a whole bunch of different business models of how it operates. One of the things that is very good for us is an electric ferry. Distances aren't fast or aren't far. You come into the dock, plug it up, and charge it up. So the ferry business is changing rather drastically. The commute downtown, we know where that's going. We have a number of places that we can get to, but if we have that, we're going to need parking and a landing, and that's going to have to adjust our waterfront someplace. So we've got a lot of waterfront. We've got a problem with the mill because it's polluted. None of this is a let's pay for it and it's working tomorrow type job. It's the government rules on this, the Army Corps, the Coast Guard, I mean, it goes on and on. But it has a lot of different facets that we really don't, or typically don't think of. The library, you heard the report, they're doing fantastic things. They're amazingly nimble, and they are probably the best input of information on the virus, this Delta virus. What's going to happen. The library has more to do with how people handle it than anybody else, just because they have more people coming and going. And they, as Margaret says, is fortunate her two daughters are in public health. But this is a mean problem. It's not a trivial problem, and it's not even what we considered a the type of disease we considered 2 years ago. I mean, we still don't know the end of this as far as what it's doing. So that's what I'm doing. Bye.
Councilor Shelton.
I just had a couple of updates on police. I was informed that there was 3 captures assisted by the K-9 in the last 2 weeks, which is really amazing. Our K-9 is doing a great job, so very proud to share that. I was also informed by the chief that they met with the school district regarding the SROs. I know that John touched on that a little bit earlier. Right now, as we know, the police are pretty short-staffed, but they did come to an agreement to have police walkthroughs during the school year. So that's kind of their plan, and they are coming together to really figure out how to serve the need and, not leave the city undermanned or anything like that. So that's good news to share. I also met with Shanna Duggan and a few other people when we were nailing down some of the layout finalizations for Citizens Day.
Yeah, how'd it go?
Yeah, I think we have a good plan.
Good.
I think we're not gonna break any water mains or do any damage to the water, which was a concern. So I think we have it figured out. But really excited. Sean has done a lot of work for it, so I'm excited for Saturday. I think it's gonna go really well, and I'm excited to do the ribbon cutting for the park. I took my kiddo there to enjoy it, and she loves the zip line. It's awesome.
It is pretty cool.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
And then I just wanted to highlight that I hear you guys when you're talking about the docks. I hear you loud and clear. The docks, the voting issues in Sand Island, those are a huge priority, and we will address them.
All right, thank you. Councilor Berkeley.
Yeah, I will be going with John up to Rainier for the Oregon City's legislative session for small cities in Northwest, and then registered for the Oregon City's annual conference in October. That should be interesting, so looking forward to that. I did attend the Connect St. Helens gathering yesterday at McCormick Park, and glad to see that group is still forging ahead with trying to develop different connections amongst the various various constituencies of our community. And had a great conversation with Shauna yesterday too, and just frankly very impressed with the work that she has done since assuming the role. And I think she's always proven, ever since she became a city employee and everything that she's done, that she throws herself wholeheartedly into it. And if she doesn't know something, she learns.
Absolutely.
She absolutely learns. And did find out too, again, we did vote on our ARPA funds tonight for funding an administrative assistant position to help her. And I think she brought clear that she said, what was it, on Tuesday, they fielded 250 phone calls regarding school programs, recreation programs. So yeah, she needs that support in the programs. I had the other day a very candid conversation with a city resident. Sometimes you talk to folks and you want to hear what a great job you're doing, and you hear some hard truths. But I really appreciate the fact that this resident did talk with me, because, for instance, there was one thing that I guess I hadn't really thought about, and Mr. Preheim referred to it in his comments today about when I was describing my tour to the sewage treatment facility, that my attempt at humor or levity was not appropriate, and it was and so I apologize for that. I always do try to be deliberate and thoughtful in how I express myself, and I did not meet the mark at that time. So I will continue to try to focus on what I'm doing and do it in a way that is appropriate. The second is when I didn't fully develop my thought when I was speaking about Councilor Topaz and how people perceive encounters with them. And we had a resident tonight who I do recall the incident that she referred to, and said that I yelled at her. I will not deny that. I will accept that, and I understand, and I will be reaching out to her personally to offer my apology, because as I do reflect on that incident, both my wife and daughter have been involved in public, in the service industry. My daughter as a barista and as a server at Running Dogs, my wife for many years at Top Notch thrift store. And I hear when they come home the stories of customers who treated them poorly, rudely, angrily, for things that were not in their control. And as I reflected on that, I certainly understand how our resident, our volunteer, that I should have responded in that situation in a different way. And for that, I do apologize, and I will be reaching out to her personally, not tonight, it's kind of late, to do that, because it is important that in our events that we do have volunteers, and if I have an issue, anyone has an issue perhaps with policies or whatever, it is not the fault of the volunteer for implementing what they do. So if I am upset or angry, I should direct that more appropriately. So that's my report.
With that, I think we're all tired, and we are adjourned.
Across. I remember when I was in the battalion.